Preservation and Programs Director, Amy Swartz. We had so many great questions through Facebook. Thank you so much for posting them. And let's jump right in. Our first question comes from Dan. I assume the graveyard is completely full with people on top of people. Who and when was the last burial? Yes, the yard is considered full. Historic records indicated that there were approximately 1,500 burials here at St. John's. But recent statistical analysis by our volunteer Lee Ball has corrected that, and we now believe that there are approximately 3,400 burials here. We encourage you to read about his work in our newsletter that was just put out this summer. You can access it here. Many consider that Charlie, the churchyard cat, to be the last burial here in 2008. Charlie is buried right here near me. He's in front of the parish hall, and he's near the front of the church. Belinda asks, I've always wondered why there are graves so close to, under, and covered by the church. Here I'm standing in the front of the church, and you can see the graves behind me, which are embedded into the sidewalk and just a few steps from the front of the church. Well, Belinda, the reason why is that every time the church was expanded, the building went right over the graveyard. We have three major periods of expansion here: 1772, 1829, and 1905. And again, every time the building went right over the graves. For the early editions, where we have evidence of bodies, there are no grave markers, so we can only guess what happened to those gravestones. The last edition was in 1905 at the back of the church. And if you go under the church today, you can see box tombs and a family plot surrounded by its cast iron fence. So if a burial is close to the church, like here at the rear with Mariah Duscher at the back basement door, she was lucky to miss the 1905 edition by inches. Our next question is, what is the oldest grave in the cemetery? One thing to mention that is, as soon as the church was completed, burials began. And we have evidence of the first burial of a Mr. John Coles in 1747. He was buried under the church, so you can't see his grave. However, the oldest existing visible marker is 1751, and that is the Reverend Robert Rose. Our next question comes from Linda. She asks, do you know for sure if Colonel Edward Carrington's wife, Elizabeth, is buried with him? I'd read it's probable, but not definite. Well, Linda, yes, we believe so. We are nearly 100% sure. Our source, one of our sources, is the Dictionary of Virginia Biography from the Library of Virginia website. Here is his epitaph. Here is where his wife is mentioned. His tenderness to her, who was the partner of his domestic comfort, is remembered with mingled gratitude and love, and with pious veneration for his memory. She hath caused this stone to be erected. Mrs. Carrington is key to the survival of St. John's Church, and we owe her a debt of gratitude. She sought to keep afloat the Henrico Parish, later St. John's Episcopal Church in Richmond, during a long period of Anglican decline following the Revolution. Her father and second husband were both parish vestrymen, and she contributed money to the church and attended the occasional services held there during its bleakest years. Mrs. Carrington founded the Female Humane Association for the relief of female orphans. Over the years, the Female Humane Association changed names and is now called the Memorial Foundation for Children. And the coolest thing is that we here at St. John's Church Foundation have directly benefited from her work. We have received grants from the Memorial Foundation for Children between 2009 and 2013 of $25,000 to support our Give Me History program. This provides free field trips to St. John's Church for elementary students in Title I schools. I happen to be the director of the program, so it's especially meaningful to me. Our next question is a frequently asked question we get quite a bit from people that are entering the visitor center right here behind me. Are the gravestones at the front of the visitor center real or original? So the Cyrus Palmer stone is a reproduction. The original has been removed and it's in storage because it's too fragile and the elements continue to damage the stone. So that is in storage. The other stone here that's next to it is original. And like we said with the burials and the additions to the church, the same thing happened with the flagstone here. And they went ahead and just placed the stones around this headstone. So it is mortared in place here. The next question is one that we get quite a bit with guests that are visiting the site. Why is there a dollar sign on some of the headstones? Was it a show of sign of wealth? The IHS is a monogram symbolizing Jesus Christ. From Greek, it is an abbreviation of the name Jesus. In the Western culture, there exists the compositions IHS and also IHC, being the first letters of the name Jesus in the Greek alphabet. Some also say in his service, IHS. Our last question is about any connections between Freemasons and St. John's Church. Yes, there are so many. I love this question. In fact, there are so many that one of our interpreters, Eric Wittig, who is a Mason himself, created a tour many years ago for St. John's that he gave in person. We're going to be recording that, and it will be a virtual tour with us soon, so be on the lookout for that. So back to Masons. Well, we know that George Washington was a Mason, and at least 11 other delegates of the Second Virginia Convention, including Washington, who is here, convention being here at St. John's, were Masons as well. John Dove is also buried here. He is the longest serving Grand Secretary of Masons. There are a lot of other connections that I'm not going to share today, so again, be on the lookout for Eric's tour in the future. And speaking of the future, this weekend, Sunday at 1 o'clock, tune into our Facebook and YouTube channels to watch my interview with conservator Carrie Howlett. Carrie restored our 1741 sounding board and was able to make connections with the Masons through the sounding board's decorative design. Thanks for joining us. Take care, and be sure to follow our Facebook and YouTube channels for all of our programs. Have a great afternoon.